Hi, my name is Colby and I'm a landscape photographer from Fresno, California. And today I'd like to talk a little bit about what goes into planning my photography trips and the behind the scenes of how I take the photo. So let's get right into it. Usually the process starts with an idea of where I want to travel or what shot I really want to take on this photography trip. Usually for me it's in the mountains, specifically the Sierra Nevadas, and even more specifically usually Yosemite National Park. But I really love backpacking, so a lot of that is backcountry miles and stuff that I need to plan before I actually drive up to Yosemite Valley. The three things that come to mind first are the trail that I'm going to take, the permit I need to take the trail, and the lighting that I need in the shot that I want to get. These three things I plan ahead of time: where I need to be when the lighting is good, where I need to get my permit, and what site I use to find the trail that I need to hike. Along with that usually comes an overnight trip, so I do have to plan what I'm going to bring, which is usually my backpacking gear. And I have a video on what I bring backpacking, and I'll put that up in the corner. Maybe that corner, could be either one of those corners, but wherever it pops up on the screen, you can check that out and it'll give you some insight on what I actually bring with me on a backpacking trip. But what's not in that video is the camera gear that I bring, and I can show that right now to you. The first thing that I always bring is a Peak Designs camera clip, and it goes on the shoulder strap of your backpack. I do really love this design, but with a heavier camera and a heavier lens, it flops around a little bit too much, so sometimes I will put it in the top of my backpack instead, and it'll just sit back there until I actually need to take a photo. But in that case, I would have to take off my backpack, which is annoying, but it's worth it for the photo and the comfort of the camera not flopping around with a heavy lens. And usually I only take one lens backpacking, and on Canon it used to be my 17 to 40 millimeter f4, which was great for me. I love those really wide shots. I didn't need past 40 millimeter, and that's about it for camera gear. Sometimes I do take an ND filter. I have a 2 to 5 stop ND filter that I will bring with me, and I don't bring a tripod with me, so there's no need for the ND filter for long exposure photos. But in the off chance that I do bring the tripod, the ND filter will come with me. And I'll show you a few shots right here where I actually did take my tripod and ND filter, and it was definitely worth it, but only in some circumstances. I never carry any other weight that I don't actually need while I'm backpacking. Alright, now on to what I use to find the trails that I'm going to hike to get the photo that I really want. The first app I use is called CalTopo. It'll be on the screen right now. That's how you spell it. It's a free app, and I don't know if it's on Android, but it is on iPhone, and it's one of the only apps that I use for topo maps. It's amazing. It has almost an update every single year, and it's free to use forever. Another plus is that you can download the whole map. So you have the whole thing on your phone and you can look at it whenever you need. With CalTopo being the #1 app I use, the #2 app would be AllTrails. It's really convenient because you can look up the trail that you want to do, but in some circumstances you can't actually find the trail that you're wanting to go on, or you plan something that's not a very popular trail and it hasn't been added to AllTrails yet. Another difficult thing is on the phone app, at least, it's hard to get the map open without any extra trails popping up, so you can't just look at the topo map without some overlaying trail on the app. But one thing I found that's very useful about AllTrails is on a computer you can design your own trails. Even though it's kind of tedious how you do it, it's really useful when you're planning a big through hike or a loop in a national park that's not very popular. You can actually make it yourself. Alright, now that you've found the trail that you're going to do, you need to find what permits you need for that trail. And what I do is I go on recreation.gov and look up the national park that I'm going to be in or the national forest, and I'll look up what trail permits you need for that specific trail. And usually you have to reserve them ahead of time, but they do release 40% or something like that 5 days in advance for national parks. So that's usually what I do because a lot of my trips are last minute and I live so close to the mountains. So I just get my permits 5 days ahead of time when not very many others are getting their permits. So it's almost guaranteed that I will get the permit. And if I don't get the permit, then I'll usually have a backup plan or another trail that I can start from and get another permit that way, where it's more open or there's not as many people. The permits are probably the most simple part. The hardest part for me is finding the trail that I want to do and getting there at the right time. I'm almost always late to the trailhead, either after work on a Friday or I just sleep in and don't get to see sunrise. The second day of the backpacking trip is usually what I plan for the most photos, because I get to wake up early at my campsite, which I can choose, and I can also hike to another location for sunset. So I get sunrise and all day to sunset for photos, but I can also explore new locations that I haven't seen before. And the longer the trip, the more full days you get to plan photos. So it gets more complicated when you're planning a 4-night trip and you have 5 full days to plan for photos for sunrise and sunset. Usually that's what I do. But if you're different and you like to sleep in during your backpacking trips, then you can get sunset. Usually I end up going to sleep after I shoot sunrise anyways, so it doesn't affect me too much. Alright, that method right there is how I get the majority of my photos, and I get a lot of things that I'm actually really happy with that way. Well, I hope this helped you out, and I hope this helped plan your next trip in the mountains. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.